Welcome everybody to this version of DPAA Short Connects. And today my special guest is Joe Maglio, who's the CEO of McKinney. Joe, good to see you again. And you look pretty trim there for someone who's been sequestered. How are you looking so trim and like, would you get a haircut someplace?
Well, so two things. So first of all, instead of eating out at restaurants like you and I have done in the past, I'm actually eating good food at home. But,
good Italian food, eh?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for noticing. I did cut my own hair the other day. It only took 2 days, but it worked out.
No kidding. Wow. How did you cut your hair at home?
Mirrors, clippers that I ordered online, patience, and a 6-year-old who helped in quotes.
First, let's tell the audience a little bit about McKinney, your clients, your unique selling proposition. You operate in a very nice consumer client first manner. Maybe you could just tell our audience about that a little bit.
Yeah, happy to. So we're a 51-year-old creative and media agency, headquartered in Durham, North Carolina. We have offices in New York and LA. And we have a really interesting mix of clients, as you alluded to. So all the way from P&G, ESPN, Sherwin-Williams, Little Caesars. And I think in all, right now we have about 20 or so active clients. So what's really interesting is our clients span so many categories and so many industries and have so many different audiences who they're trying to speak to, that we get a really good understanding of what people across the country are thinking. And then with our coastal agencies in New York and LA, but then our agency in Durham, which we call the rest of the world, we get a nice understanding of how those audiences that we're trying to help our clients connect with actually live and go about their day-to-day lives. So it was almost just purely organic that our positioning really strives to be consumer-centric. And we call what we do ideas born from simple human insights.
That makes good sense. From simple human insight. I like the idea that you've actually covered the coast, but you're also covering America.
Yeah. It's actually a huge advantage. You might not be surprised, but having spent most of my career at larger holding companies and in the New York, the big New York headquarter offices, you do realize that sometimes you lose perspective. And our company being headquartered in Durham, not just having an office in Durham, really helps a ton. It's actually been a great experience for me in my time in the role.
It's so important, especially New Yorkers, we can get caught up in thinking New York and then LA is the be all end all. Just yesterday, I was speaking to one of my board members, Michael Provenzano, who has built and runs Vistar Media. And he was saying how so many people he runs into today think that the world is as New York is, especially during the coronavirus, where yes, New York has been hit awfully hard, but people have to realize there's a rest of the country out there. So I sent him the New Yorker cover poster where it has the map of how New Yorkers see the world: New York, Chicago, LA, and the Pacific Ocean.
That's such a great cover, yeah.
Isn't that terrific? So great. So you've got a great unique selling proposition there, Joe. You've done something very interesting now, back to the coronavirus and this unfortunate time that we're in. And it's called Spread More Good. I looked at the site. It's well designed. It tells an important story. Maybe you can tell a bit of the story now.
Yeah, so, one of the things we wanted to do once we were all in this, stay-at-home environment was really help the people at McKinney, help our employees realize that there's still goodness in the world. There are still things to be optimistic about and look forward to and be happy about. So some of our creatives jumped in and had this idea to literally spread more good. And we created this good curve. And if you, in social media, use a hashtag spread more good, we scrape that, and we're trying to build the good curve to grow well beyond the curves we're used to seeing around the viruses. I think we did it before John Krasinski came out with his Some Good News. So he kind of stole our idea, but we're just waiting for him to call us so we could be on his show.
Yeah, he's done a nice job on that show. Yeah. And people should go. It's spreadmoregood.com, right? Yeah, check it out. I've been there, and it tells a good and important story today. In terms of good and importance, how are your teams staying motivated? How are you providing such needed leadership during this time, Joe?
So it's been obviously unprecedented for everybody, but when we kind of moved to stay at home, which we did really quickly, we've just taken everything that we've been doing and had been doing in person, and we moved it into a virtual environment. So, things as simple as every week we have an all agency meeting. We figured out the right way to do that virtually. How do we get news to people? How do we create environments where people can continue to have those hallway conversations via technology, since they can't actually be literally passing each other in physical hallways in our offices? So we've done a lot of those things, which, I think a lot of companies have done who've, been able to find their way through this. Some of the things that we've been doing separately, though, have probably been more important. Like we're doing what we're calling McKinney mixers, which are virtual happy hours, like a lot of companies. But what we're doing is it's 9 people at a time, and the pairing is based on an algorithm that we developed. So every employee has to fill out this questionnaire, which is some quirky questions behind it. And then the algorithm creates what it believes to be the most interesting pairings of 9 people that changes every week. And, we'll either have one, or I think in the first week we had 7 or 8 of these happening at the same time. And, people have come back and said, that was a really fun and totally different way to get to know my colleagues. So, we've been leaning a lot into some kind of left of center ways to use technology to keep us all kind of going and motivated.
What a great, perfect pairings. You're right. Everybody just throws everybody on Zoom, but you've actually scientifically researched an algorithm to, if I could add to that, you may want to send a little snacks and food. People can have their own drinks, and you send something that's perfectly paired with the wine or whatever they're drinking.
I think that's a brilliant idea. So we've been sending care packages to everybody every 4 to 6 weeks or so, called every 4 weeks. We have some people, so the head of our LA office, the managing director, his name is Sylvain Tron, he's French. And what he's been doing with some people in LA is exactly what you just said. He'll pick out 2 bottles of wine from his very French wine collection, and he'll drop one off in front of somebody's front door, and then they'll have dinner together with the same bottle.
Great. Oh, yeah. Good for you guys. That's good leadership is so critical during this time, and it shows that you at McKinney are doing that. Talking about leadership and your clients, so what are they saying? Are they pausing their spending? Are they cutting it? Or evidently we're now seeing a bit of light at the end of the tunnel, possibly. So what are the brands telling you in their plans?
It really varies, and because our set of clients are so diverse, and their business models are so diverse, and their audiences are so diverse, we've had some clients who frankly are really struggling. And as much as I wish we could do something to help them, we just can't. There are logistical challenges with their business that we're not equipped to help them overcome. And other clients are either doing as well, if not better in some cases, like Little Caesars as an example. They're set up to safely provide pizza, whether it's in one of their pickup locations or through their new delivery that we launched with them in the Super Bowl. Hearing a really mixed bag and doing our best to help everybody in the way we can. And, we've been able to really stay strong, and, we're as impacted as anybody when it comes to our projects and our revenue. And, we had a lot of new business opportunities right in front of our face in January, February. Some of those have been paused, some of them went away, but some are still moving forward. And, we've been lucky enough where we haven't let anybody go. So we're just continuing to plow forward. And I don't know if we have a light, excuse me. I don't know if we have a light at the end of the tunnel, but I think what we're learning and have learned in the last 8 weeks is that there's a way to fight through this, and there's a way to reposition our business to be successful in what I believe is going to be a very unpredictable 12-month period.
Yeah, I think you're right. Unfortunately, there's a lot that we still don't know, and a lot of variables that can happen, but you will, and we all will fight through it. A lot of advertising has moved into programmatic. Mm-hmm. You've developed algorithms for your team, perfect pairings. Have you done much in the way of programmatic across different media, and what's some of your thinking on that?
Yeah, so our media group, I would say is about, call it 65 to 75% digital media planning and buying. And probably half of that is programmatic. We do a lot for Crocs, where they're a global digital media agency. and a really good chunk of that and growing over the 5 years of our relationship with them is programmatic. And we actually just launched right at the beginning of the pandemic, basically, our own internal trade desk. So that's getting off the ground as well. So we're really trying to find our way in that programmatic world, because it's not, I don't think, going to define our collective future, but it's certainly going to be a part of it.
That's great to hear. You're building your own internal trading desk. We, as you know, we're in the out-of-home world, and the digital out-of-home, we've been promoting that, and it's been a great growth area. Of course, paused a little bit at now. What's been some of your clients and your thoughts on digital out-of-home and the business today and tomorrow?
It's interesting. I mean, I think, and you and I have talked a lot about this, I think out of home is one of the most underleveraged media opportunities that there is. And I do think that static out of home is hard sometimes for people to wrap their head around. But when you can make it dynamic, when it's digital and place-based and programmatic and just takes on all of the facets of the other media vehicles that people have no problem spending tens or hundreds of millions of dollars in, I think we're going to see a resurgence once we're all literally out of our houses in what out of home can do, and particularly digital out of home. I think it's a medium that will get a lot more attention, if for no other reason than it's going to suddenly be a novelty again to see any communication that's outside of your own house. And I really think that it's a great medium to move people, not just to sell product, but to create an emotional tie. And some of the work that's been done by out-of-home companies and brands within the out-of-home world during the pandemic has been, pretty motivating, and I think a really smart use of the medium.
Yeah, we've seen that, and it's nice to hear you say that. We've also found that, especially coming out of this, the ability to move quickly in digital out-of-home and in programmatic out-of-home and move things around automatically in terms of audiences and locations will be good coming out. And we've also seen that, as you know, Marshall McLuhan talks about the medium as the message. When you're outside, finally in a happy place, it's going to be a nice environment to sell products, goods, and services. So we are looking forward to that, and we'll be talking a lot more about that. You're home now. You've got your kids there that are helping you with the hair and mustache and beard and scissors and everything else. Would they be your biggest motivators, or what kind of inspires you working from home these days, Joe?
I think it is day to day whether they're my biggest motivators or my biggest challenge. I'm actually surprised they haven't run in right now while you and I have been speaking. But yeah, I think, look, they're always a motivator without a doubt, right? And it's been great, to be quite honest, to see them way more than I normally would, to see them, they're 6 and 2 years old, to see them kind of bond in real time because they're together more than they normally would be. So that's been really great. That's actually been a nice byproduct of the whole experience. But, what keeps me motivated is I'm an optimist by nature, and hopefully not a naive optimist, but optimistic enough where I believe the adage that optimists will always win. And I'm kind of a fire's lit in me because I look at this as, a big challenge and potentially a big opportunity for my company, for a lot of brands, for how we look at media. It's given us a chance to sit back and think about what we can do that is really strategically sound and smart, where we've just been running for so many years since the last recession. I think it could be a nice reset. Now, obviously, there's a lot of bad happening in the world, and that's really the main priority and should be everybody's main concern. But in our little corner of the world with advertising and marketing, I do think there can be some future opportunities.
You're right. It's a great time to just breathe for a second, pause for a moment, appreciate what we have, and then how do we get to the next level in business as well as in our personal lives. It's good to see you thinking that way, Joe. So we do a couple of 3 takeaways, and what I'm getting from Joe Maglio, I'm getting one is simple human insights. It's a great way to kind of run an advertising business. You've evidently done it very successfully there at McKinney. Number 2, as Joe says, there's still goodness in the world, and we have to embrace that and spread more good, which is what you're doing with your website. And third, I think you very pointedly said, we will fight our way through it. And, McKinney will, DPAA will, the advertising world, and humanity will fight our way through it. So thank you for those three takeaways. And I thank you for joining us. Joe, you've evidently, a great leader and or maybe more importantly, a great dad is what I'm hearing. So
I try, thank you. And one thing I will say about the leadership point is, the people who work at McKinney from top to bottom, everyone's got to be in. Everyone's got to get behind what we're doing. Everyone has to adapt, and everyone has to self-motivate in this world where we're home by ourselves, right? And I'm really impressed by the people at McKinney and their ability across every department and every level of seniority to really get behind what we're trying to do. So, coming out of this, again, the optimistic side of my brain, I say this is going to be really fun and a really interesting ride, certainly for the next 12 months.
That's a great way to end it, and maybe we'll continue this in October, but we'll certainly see you as soon as we're let out of the house. So, Joe, thank you so much for doing this. Great to see you, and we'll be hopefully talking and face-to-face soon.
Absolutely. I hope so, Barry. Thank you. Stay safe.
Thank you, Joe.